You sometimes you hear people say that uppercut stood him up. This literally brings him up back to his full height. Auber, kind of, yeah, there it is. Snot. Oh yeah, sinus clear. That was a sinus clearer right there. That's like something your doctor would do for you. Oh, it's so sneaky. He's like a Looney Tunes character. He just like disappeared. And Holyfield is concussed. He probably sees 3 Riddick Bowe, so he's extra confused like when he just disappears. This is going to be more of a raw breakdown and reaction rather than an analysis, because I just want to have fun looking at these last three rounds of this breakdown that we've been doing. But yeah, I'm not coming in prepared. I've seen these last 3 rounds one time, but that was a little while ago, so it's just going to be more of a reaction and a breakdown. Now let's talk science. Let's go. One thing I remember saying to myself when I was watching this is the way Evander Holyfield kind of initiates these clinches so lackadaisically. He just, like, this is the start of the round. The first thing he does at the start of the round is like fall in right here, and he's not really establishing any controls. He's not doing anything, and Riddick Bowe is able to, well, he does have a little bit of control over the wrist, but nothing really forceful. So Riddick Bowe can just like pull out that left hand and just land shots. And then he's definitely not controlling the back arm a lot of times, because Riddick Bowe is always slipping in those uppercuts. And I remember what's about to happen next, so stick around. Again, Holyfield's not putting a lot of effort into these inside fights. Like, he's kind of clinching, but he's not clinching enough to where it neutralizes everything. Riddick Bowe is still able to maneuver, slip out that right arm, and bring it underneath with these uppercuts. And like I said, give it some time. And it only took a couple of seconds. I said give it some time. We don't need that much time. Riddick Bowe has that right arm free, and you see Holyfield, he's like looking off to the side. He kind of has some control over that left arm, and he's using his right hand to kind of like post on the neck of Riddick Bowe. But his right arm is completely free, and so you see him kind of like open up to land this massive uppercut. That reminded me of the one that AJ hit Klitschko with, just neck, snap back, everything. And then you see Holyfield. There's a weird thing with concussions, like it happened to what was the one, Luis Ortiz versus Charles Martin. Wilder had it versus Zhang. Look at, he start wandering off into the distance. The uppercut was something serious right there, but it's all because he wasn't being proactive on in the inside, and so he got lined up. But like I said so many times, these moments are what make the fight so great. This man was in zombie mode about 5 seconds ago, and he still is trying to, answer back, and he does answer back. That lands clean right on the ear. If I'm being honest, I think the momentum is already starting to swing back pretty heavily for Evander, because Bowe threw like 100 punches trying to finish Holyfield. That's an exaggeration. It was more maybe like 20, 30, but it was a lot of heavy power punches, and the adrenaline rush of trying to get a finish. Oh, it leads to an adrenaline dump if you don't get the finish. And I think that's what happened right here, because Bowe, he's the one just like walking in lazily, not really responding with counters. A lot of time he has counters when he sees Evander coming in from a distance. Now Evander's just like closing the distance, throwing these shots, and he's not getting any answers back from Bowe. And I think that's because Bowe kind of he tired himself out. This is even more evidence. Earlier I was talking about Evander being the one who's like lazy on the inside, not doing anything to control or not really putting forth any offense. And now Bowe is the one who's just kind of like falling in head first, and he's getting lined up with the uppercuts. It's almost like these shots wake him up, because he's just getting hit with uppercuts. He's not even responding, just arms down, getting tagged with left hooks and uppercuts. And then he get hit with enough of them, and then he starts to wake up. Look, now he's aware, jab, cross, but Holyfield's been having to deal with that 1-2 for 10 rounds at this point. And so he knows that cross is coming. That's why he gets underneath and tries to counter it. And then Bowe knows that he's going to try and counter it, so Bowe expects it and gets out of the way. This fight is just filled with adjustments. They know each other's game by this. At this point, they know that, oh, he's going to counter that, he's going to do that, he's going to throw that. And so Bowe is getting out of the way of that, repositioning. And Bowe does a good job of that. That's one underrated thing about this fight. Bowe has a way of, especially for being the bigger man, he has a way of like getting around underneath shots and then like repositioning to where Holyfield has to turn and keep up with him. Because look at what Holyfield's at. Holyfield's in southpaw. And as I say that, he throws a big left hook. Bowe gets underneath it, like I said, and then Holyfield has to reposition and throw a big right hook, and that one does land. Holyfield is just jumping into these punches. He's insane. This dude was taking a stroll in the park about 2 minutes ago. He got rocked so bad that he was gonna walk out of the ring and go see his family or something. But then he recovers from that, and he goes on the offensive, and he just starts throwing these Joe Frazier hooks, jumping off of the ground, changing directions, he's jumping so hard into these shots that he's turning southpaw, but he doesn't care. That's what makes Holyfield as so much of a warrior that he is. He does not care. Good offense from Holyfield and good defense from Bowe. So Bowe is flicking out this jab, boom, he's flicking it out, and then he's going to approach Holyfield and flick it out again, but Holyfield times it, and he gets his head to the outside of it and tries that overhand over top, and then Bowe turns the shoulder, just smooth. Even at this point of the fight, the little counters and then the little defensive maneuvers, when they both been rocked a few times, Holyfield, like I said, he was about to go see the cameraman at the bottom of the ring, but still, regardless, they still sharp. It's great to see. Bowe makes the mistake of, he does a good job of, I guess, trying to answer what he sees as Holyfield getting ready to throw his jab with his own jab. So he intercepts Holyfield, but he keeps that jab out there. Like I guess because he's tired, he's keeping it out there a little bit longer than he should. And so opening, boom, big cross, damn. Look at the neck whiplash. And then he's rocked at this point. And now Holyfield's trying to get on him. Well, does he? I don't know if he notices. Let's see. And the reason why I say he's rocked, if you look at his legs, look at the when they reset, look at the little stumble. Not just a stumble, but a shaky stumble. Stumbles happen all the time, but it's different when you stumble and it's like shaky. Whether you stumble and you just catch yourself because you were off balance. Bowe is stumbling because his legs are shaky. And I think Holyfield kind of notices that, but then you see him like pull back, and maybe he's trying to pick his shots. Like he lands a great left hook right there. Maybe that's a smart thing to do. Instead of throwing like 20 punch combinations, he's pulling back and throwing big single shots, waiting, using timing, and accurately placing them. Yeah, Holyfield definitely notices he's turning it up right now. I think Holyfield notices he's throwing these hooks and Bowe is getting underneath him. Yeah, Holyfield's eyeing him right now. He says, oh, he keeps ducking. And I think that's why he waits, lets him jab, and then Bowe is preemptively getting underneath a potential shot that was probably going to come out. But instead of that potential shot being a hook or a cross or anything coming out over top, it's an uppercut. So, and bro, they are blasting each other. So yeah, but that one bring them sometimes you hear people say that uppercut stood him up. This literally brings him up back to his full height. He was ducking to below Evander's height, and then he got brought up. That uppercut was crazy. Perfectly timed, perfectly placed. Oh, one thing I remember talking about too, when I was originally looking at this for the first time, was the difference in the power of these two punches kind of comes from Bowe repositioning his stance and opening up his hip on the left side. So when he lands this like little hook to the body, I mean, I wouldn't say little, it's Riddick Bowe, so it would hurt. It's just relatively little compared to what he's capable of throwing when his body is fully into the punch. But this is like mostly an arm punch. You don't see much of the hip moving, much of the leg being involved. Then what he does is, as he throws that, and this is very smart because he's working off the same hand too, as he throws that, he steps out with that left leg, gets a little bit of space, and then he's able to turn his hips into the uppercut. So you see that his hips were kind of, I don't know, just perpendicular to Evander Holyfield's, but then he kind of like gets into a position where his hips are almost parallel. Like both of their hips are facing the same direction rather than Bowe's hips facing Holyfield. But that's just me being real pedantic. But I think that's pretty cool to notice that though. This is a completely different tone from Evander to start round 11. Last time he started round 10, he came out, immediately went for the clinch. This is how he starts off round 11. He just jumps into a left hook. I was comparing him to Joe Frazier. I mean, he just jumped into a left hook right there. This is a crazy combination from Bowe. 1, 2, and you see two defensive maneuvers happened from Holyfield. One that actually both I think we've talked about a lot. Like if you look at the previous parts, he knows when that jab comes, a cross could be potentially coming after. So for one, obviously he's slipping, getting his upper body out the way, head movement, whatever. But then you also see him put that cross block of that right hand across on that side. And what he also does, the third thing I guess isn't defense, it's the counter. So those defensive moves allow for the counter to come. So he kind of like pulls down and he loads the weight up onto that right side. He's been doing that for several rounds of this fight to counter the 1-2. But Bowe knows this. And I think Bowe has tried to counter him a few times off of this, but this is one of the best counters in the fight to Holyfield's habit and Holyfield's adjustment here. He throws the 1-2 and there's a pause. He sees, well, actually Holyfield does throw the right hand, but there's a pause and then boom, he throws the left. And so he catches him mid attempt trying to counter with that combination. And I'm trying to see if it shows it again, but when I was watching it in full speed, you see the slobber kind of, yeah, there it is. Snot. Oh yeah. Sinus clear. That was a sinus clearer right there. That's like something your doctor would do for you. Again, Holyfield is rocked. He's just like falling forward. And then Bowe is sneaking in these shots. Nasty uppercut. You can see the whiplash. And it's funny that I said that earlier, because every time I'm continuing across this fight, it's seeming more and more true. Bowe is so sneaky. He's like a Looney Tunes character. He just like disappeared. And Holyfield is concussed. He probably sees 3 Riddick Bowes, so he's extra confused. Like when he just disappears. That's yeah. I don't know if he hit him in the back of the head. Let me see. No, that's clean. That's right on the ear. That's just super smooth from Bowe. This is a good example of probably the end concept of personal space. Bowe is just advancing and advancing, and he was piecing them up earlier, don't get me wrong, but he's not advancing with anything. And so Holyfield just sees a target heading towards him, and he gets too close. He gets into his personal space. Holyfield does that little move where he loads up that right side and lands a massive right hand. And by the way, if we were judging chins and I was giving our ratings, Holyfield's recovery and reaction will probably be damn near 10. This man, he got blasted by an opponent bigger than him, stronger than him, and he's just, the fact he's still sharp and in there, it take him a little while to get back to it, but he just literally got the slobber and snot knocked out of him. So I mean, for him to still be in this fight is crazy. See, normally when fighters is getting beat up, they want to clinch, and Holyfield did try and clinch sometimes, but this man he was getting beat up this round. He got dropped, and they were different breeds back then, but also Holyfield is just a different breed in general. Yeah, he's a little bit insane. He's a little bit unhinged. If you want me to be honest, I think this is a more painful fight for Evander, but I think this is a more stressful and tiring fight for Riddick Bowe, because Riddick Bowe has dropped him, rocked him more times than the other way around. But Holyfield he's insane. He's a machine, and he's still going, and he's just this is the same round where he got the slobber knocked out of him and was holding on to the ropes, like if he fell in the shower and had to hold on to the shower curtain. This man was all over. Last round he was looking off into the distance, like he's getting beat up in these rounds, but if you look at certain parts of it, you wouldn't think so. The way he's pressing the action, and Bowe with that smooth turn away from the uppercut right there. But Evander Holyfield is just going crazy, and Riddick Bowe has to contain him. That's the crazy part, is Riddick Bowe's the one doing the rocking, but he's the one having to clinch up. Bowe has some of the subtlest, smoothest defense I've ever seen, and I still got more defenses to look at, but it's just so subtle, and that's the thing, because I don't know if his defense gets talked about that much. I think people talk about his jab, and if you watch this fight, you can see why. If you see Evander Holyfield's face, you can see why his jab gets talked about so much. But these little like subtle shoulder rolls, and like these, like him pulling away from shots, him repositioning, he's smooth. He's smooth. Now this is actually good awareness on the inside from Evander, mostly because he kind of initiates this inside sequence. But Bowe has a little bit of control on the back of the head, but he's using that other arm, the right arm, his backhand, to guard against a shot coming from around. And so Holyfield kind of gets further inside and pause, and he positions so he gets vision of the target, and then boom, rips from that position, gets full hip into it. You can see his hip rise into the uppercut too. So that's a nice setup for that shot. Nice counter to the jab from Evander. Well, he does eat it, but he still counters it. It lands on the forehead, so it's not super effective. But he steps in, lets that left arm travel inside, and what probably happened there is Bowe was expecting a right hand over top. He kind of like gets that, kind of like how we've seen him use that shoulder to kind of roll away from that right coming over top. And instead he ducks into a left hook from Evander. So he kind of switches up the counter there, steps and jumps into that left to counter the jab. After landing an uppercut of his own right here, he always gets those uppercuts inside when Bowe isn't using that free backhand, and he's kind of like getting neck control, head control with the left. He always gets those uppercuts inside. And I'm trying to see what happens here, but for some reason, because I don't think he really gets hit with anything clean, Holyfield does kind of like what he did earlier when he got rocked. He just like kind of begins to walk off into the distance. Like he disengages, and then he kind of just starts walking off, and he does like start to look back towards Bowe, and he starts to react, but I don't know what is he doing. But he just eats that shot and comes back with another. So yeah, I guess he's fine, but just, yeah, it's a little bit strange. I just wanted to see who won at the end. I'm not surprised that Bowe won. Yeah, tell me who you think should have won. Probably I think most people are in agreement here. I don't know what people say about this fight, but we will look at the other fights in the future, but we will move on to another fight pretty soon, and we'll keep on doing Roy Jones and Enrico Verhoeven. Those are the two other series we got going on right now. We just put this series to an end, and I think this is a great final part to finish off on. I thought this was a great fun breakdown, reaction, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, this is probably a long ass video. This is, by the way, for the fight scientists, for the loyal community members, this is why I do scripts, because I talk a lot. I'm an expert in yapology, so I try and keep my stuff concise so I don't go on for 5 minutes talking about one single uppercut. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm going on talking about a bunch of stuff, but that's a good explanation for why I use scripts all the time, because it allows me to be more focused and structured. But yeah, no focus, no structure today, just fun. I will see y'all next time I'm out.